And welcome back to Rams Talk Podcast. We're here today after a pretty decent 4-0 win against Northampton during the week, and we're recording pretty much straight after our 2-2 draw with Crewe, which I'd say wasn't quite as decent, but we've got plenty to go through. And joining me today, it's a bit of a sparse lineup actually. Jamie's in Vietnam, Callum's away, Chris is away. Adam was at the game, so can't get back in time. There's quite a lot of absence today, so it's just me and Vic. How are you, Vic?
Yeah, not too bad, Jake. Not too bad. After watching that game earlier, I wouldn't say I'm the best, but I've had worse days, so we'll move on and we'll keep going, just like Derby.
Just like Derby, exactly. And I guess, Vic, we better start with the Northampton game, as it was a little bit further away. Jog the memory a little bit. 4-0 win, a brace for Max Bird, his first 2 goals of the season. Mendez-Laing grabbed one, as well as Connor Washington, who I thought was quite impressive. But we have to start with Max Bird because we've said all season how good he is. We know he's a good player. We know he's got talent. Took both his goals brilliantly. I mean, he just looks a class above, doesn't he, at the minute?
Yeah. I mean, Max Bird, you can tell he's just too good for this league. But yeah, he's put in a real good performance. It's nice to see him play a bit more advanced. Again, I'm still unsure whether he is more suited to the CDM or if he's more suited to the 8 at the minute, but he's making that position his own. It's nice to see him contribute with a few goals, because we all said that goals was his was one thing that he really needed to improve on from last season. However, yeah, it's nice just to see Max Bird flourishing, and we know that if he keeps putting these performances in, come January we could struggle. So yeah, I mean, long may his good form continue, but hopefully it pushes us up the table and gives us a bit of form going ahead as well.
Let's hope so. I mean, I've seen a couple of people mention that Bird might be playing for a contract elsewhere. Obviously, his deal's up at the end of the season. I'm not going to doubt his commitment for a second. But, I mean, it is worrying, isn't it? Going into January, we know there were teams sniffing about him for a fee of around 2 or 3 million. Only 6 months left. If we lose him, who knows what will happen?
Well, the more dangerous thing is the fact that because he's 6 months left on his deal, he can sign a pre-contract agreement, can't he? So that's another worrying factor. I mean, if we have to sell him, then he'll go with our best wishes, I think, because he's given everything he can for the shirt. However, if he stays, then that's fantastic, and hopefully we can really get our promotion pushed back on track. I say that with inverted commas.
Hey, last game in the league we won 4-0, Vic. So that's the sort of form we need, and a player we want to talk about for both games really, because he was quite impressive against Crewe today, but he was quite impressive on Tuesday as well. He scored 4 in his last 4. Nathaniel Mendez-Laing took his goal really well. Seems to combine really well with Tom Barkhuizen as well. I think the two of them have been really bright for us. I mean, people questioned him at the start of the season. I think he's one of those players where when he doesn't hit form, we really know, because we're so reliant on him creating and running at teams and opening up spaces and gaps that, yeah, when he isn't performing, we really know about it. I mean, what have you thought to him so far?
Oh, I just lost you for a sec. We were talking about Mendez-Laing, weren't we? Yeah, it's nice to see him hit a purple patch of form. I think a lot of people were worried about his Guatemala commitments, in the sense that it's obviously the travelling back and forth and how much that could impact his game at Derby. But it's nice to see him hit a run of form. He's proven the doubters wrong, because there's a lot of us out here that would have said that NML needs a rest or he's not putting the shift in. However, if you watch the last few games that he's played, he's had a real big contribution to all of them. He scored a few goals. So it's nice to see him hit a run of form. Just hopefully the rest of the team can sort of follow suit as well. And to me, it looks like he's proven to be one of the leaders on the pitch at the minute. He seems to be the one doing all the pressing and attacking and trying to get everybody else involved. So it's nice to see NML more involved. And it's nice to see that he's finally found the balance between Derby and Guatemala. So hopefully that form can continue as well. But like I said before, we need at least 8 or 9 of these players on form if we want to try and get up the table.
That was really worrying for a second there, Vic, because I was just staring into your blank and frozen eyes, desperately hoping you'd come back from your frozen stream. So yeah, I'm glad he got there in the end. And yeah, Mendez-Laing, he's in good form, and I'm sure we'll talk about him a little bit about his performance at Crewe as well as he got man of the match. But another player that impressed me on Tuesday, and I think I was actually quite surprised by how well he played, was Connor Washington. A goal and assist for him. Looked really, really dangerous. Took his goal brilliantly. Sent the defender for a hot dog. Put it in the bottom corner. I mean, he's been criticised a bit, hasn't he, Connor Washington? But he's up to 3 goals now in the league, and I think he could really build on that, can't he?
Yeah, I think with Connor Washington, I think he's more of a sort of confidence player. I think if he gets a good run of games in the side, he gets a couple of goals just to build up his confidence. He'll flourish, and we're starting to see the fruits of his labour. I'm not the biggest Connor Washington fan, if I'm honest, and I made that pretty clear at the start of the season.
Jamie's influence, this is.
Yeah, no. This is definitely all me. But no, it's nice to see that Connor Washington sort of making his statement on the side. It's good to see that he's getting a couple of goals, because the problem we've got at the minute is up front and trying to put the chances away. And he took his goal really well on Tuesday. He's been quite a live wire, which is nice to see. He's pressing defenders, running down the channels, offering a bit different to what Collins normally offers. So it's nice to see that we've got a slightly different centre forward in the backup if we need it. So Connor Washington's done really well. I don't know if he wasn't that good today against Crewe, but against Northampton, I think we saw the kind of Washington that we sort of expected when we initially signed him. Someone that can run at defenders, be a nuisance all game, and chip in with the odd goal here and there as well. So again, like I said with everybody else, I just hope his form continues as well, because one thing we're lacking at the minute is just trying to put that ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry to anyone if they can hear the fireworks going off. There's a house across the road that is setting them off. It's so loud. But yeah, no, it's all good. I hope it's not ruining the experience too much. And yeah, so I guess that's it on Tuesday. I mean, it's a brilliant game, brilliant result. I think we've needed to absolutely hammer someone for a while now, and it was good that we did that at home as well. I think it's sort of, I guess, giving us a bit of a leg up with our home form, which have been really questioned for a lot of the season so far. So yeah, good stuff. But now on to today. And we've spoken about a couple of players. I mean, Connor Washington looks incredibly isolated, I thought. And before we get onto the points that I've written down, I'm just having to skim through the YouTube comments. People saying, get out of jail card's been used up. Build-up play wasn't too bad, but we should be putting it away. It's pretty consistent across the board. We created quite a lot of chances. We put in a lot of crosses, but we just couldn't get the ball into the back of the net. And yeah, it just wasn't an easy game for us. And Vic, if he's come back and has stopped being frozen, I'd be buying for time for the last 30 seconds. I mean, Vic, we created a lot of chances today. We got the ball in wide areas a lot. We put a lot of balls in. We'll get onto that. How do you think we actually played?
Now I've had time to calm down. I think we've probably played pretty well. Like I said, it's everything up until we get to that final third. As soon as we put the balls into the box, for me, there's not enough players committed to attack that ball. So we're pumping the balls into the box, but there's no one there to sort of get on the end of it. Other than that, I think our overall play was pretty good. We were dominant in possession. We're moving through the channels pretty quickly. Our defence was a bit shaky to begin with, but I thought we found our feet back in the second half once we made the substitutions. But overall, I think the performance was okay. It was okay. It's just, again, like we've said all season, it's the inability to put the ball in the back of the net that's killing us. Had we scored in the first 10 minutes when we had all those chances, we'd have cruised through that game. So again, the one thing that's killing us is not having someone that can put the ball in the back of the net, like that potent goal scorer that we've been crying out for all season.
Well, exactly. And Paul Warne came out at the end of the game and said quite controversially as it's been spoken about on Twitter, he said, I've come out and said we were brilliant, even if we lost 2-0. Now, your assessment there, Vic, was that it was okay. What do you make of Warne saying that? Because I feel like if he had come out and said that, if we'd lost 2-0, he'd have been slaughtered.
God, he doesn't half help himself, does he? That's the problem. I mean, I get what he means, but I wouldn't say we were brilliant, though. Like, we have to bear in mind that we're playing against the League Two side that literally struggled to field the side today and only had 6 subs on the bench. So they couldn't even fill their bench up. They had made 6 changes as well, so that's not reflective of the sort of team that we should be playing. We should be beating teams like Crewe, especially if they're a League 2 side. We're meant to be challenging for promotion from League 1. I won't say we're brilliant. However, I understand his point in saying that everything up until we got to the final third was good. So I guess it's swings and roundabouts, isn't it, really, with that. It just you take it as is. But I don't think he should have said we were brilliant, even if we didn't win. He's not helping in the situation at the moment, is he?
No, he's not. And I tell you what, it sounds like I'm in I don't know, a war zone at the minute. It's, I don't know if anyone can hear this, but it's ridiculous the amount of fireworks going on outside my window. I feel like I'm back at uni. But yeah, I do agree with what you're saying. I think, yeah, if he'd come out and said that, he'd been slaughtered, because there was no way we were brilliant today. And I mean, one of the things we do need to talk about is our defending for both of the goals from Crewe, because one of the things that I've got written down, we spoke about it a little bit in the chat, didn't we, was that the defence switched off. And is it like, when goalkeepers don't have a lot to do and then the ball comes in and they're not quite at it because they've barely touched the ball? Do you think it was something like that, or were Crewe just too good for our defence to handle them?
I don't think they were too good for our defence to handle them. I think it was more of a case of they had a game plan and they sort of executed it to how they wanted to play. They were going to put the balls into the box. And the first goal was a great cross. It's something that we've been crying out to do all season with the way Warne likes to play. So it's just, you might excuse me on my brother's being he's making a few noises in the background. I do apologise to everyone. But yeah, I mean, I don't think they were too good for us. I just think we were sleeping and maybe we underestimated their attacking prowess going forward. I think maybe we slept a bit. I thought Nyambe had quite a poor game today, if I'm honest. It's not to his usual standard. But then I thought Fozzie struggled as well. So maybe it was just a case of they had a game plan, they executed it well, and we underestimated their attacking prowess going forward, I think.
Yeah, that could be right. And one of the things I said we'll touch on now, and it's the amount of crosses we put in. Now, 15 crosses met their mark and reached a man today out of 62. 62 crosses in one game. A game's 90 minutes, we're doing 60 crosses. I mean, you could do the maths. It's crazy, and we only completed 24% of them. And it's funny because neither of our goals actually came from crosses. I mean, you could argue that Mendez-Laing's cutback at the end was a cross if you want, but it was a cutback. It wasn't a whipped ball into the box or anything like that. We put in ball after ball after ball to an isolated striker, and it didn't work once. I mean, Vic, when you look at it like that, we talk about plan A, plan B. Our plan A is clearly to get balls into the box, but why do we do that when we don't really have anyone that's going to score from them?
I mean, if there was any stat to define what warm ball actually is, that's got to be it, I think. 16 crosses. Again, for me, I don't mind just playing that way as long as we commit the bodies forward. I mean, if we're playing with 2 8s in the midfield, surely you'd be think that they'd be running into the box again on the end of it, as well as the lone striker, as well as the opposite winger. For some reason or another, we don't seem to do that. I mean, we're pumping the balls into the box, but it feels like it's aimless pumping into the box. It doesn't feel like we're actually doing anything that's sort of penetrative or any accurate crosses. I don't think until Joe Ward actually came on today, I thought the crosses were a bit hit and miss. But then you can see
Wilson.
Yeah, him and Wilson. Yeah, sorry, Wilson was really good when he come on as well. But yeah, it just felt like we were just pumping them in. And it's that same thing we said a few weeks ago about like Warne may have said to the players, if you just keep getting in, eventually we'll get on the end of one of them. But like you said, 67 crosses and only 15 actually met their target. It doesn't make for good reading, does it?
No.
But obviously we're going to persist with that. But I think if we're going to persist with it, we need to put the bodies into the box. I mean, if we don't, then we don't get the goals. And this is what's ultimately killing our season.
Well, that's it. And I thought it was strange that when he did make the changes, albeit all the changes did really well when they came on. So I'm not going to complain about that at all. But I thought it was a little bit strange that even though we were only playing one up front, we clearly needed more bodies in the box. He takes off the only striker that we have and brings on the striker. I'd have thought, he'd have gone 2 up top or got more players into the box. He brought Cashin on, and Cashin barely entered the box at all. So I thought it was a bit strange. But again, the subs ended up changing the game completely, so you can't complain too much. But I mean, one of the things you mentioned earlier, Vic, was that Nyambe didn't have his best game. from a tactical side of things, I thought it was a bit strange before the game that he didn't make any changes, especially for players like Nyambe, because Nyambe's an amazing defender. We've seen it, haven't we? He's so good at 1v1s, but going forward, he isn't great. And in a game where we dominated over 70% of possession, we needed wide players that could put the ball in, and he isn't that. And I think when Joe Ward came on, he showed, this is why he should be playing in these sorts of games. When we play against teams where we're going to dominate the ball and dominate the game, should we really take a couple more risks and play fullbacks that are a little bit more attacking?
Yeah, I think so. But then we could also argue that maybe Nyambe has been shackled a bit in the sense of him pushing forward and advancing. You never know. But I thought Nyambe did struggle today, but Joe Ward made an excellent case for himself to sort of maybe start on Wednesday against the under-20 Wolverhampton under-21s. It just looked a different dynamic when we made those subs, didn't it? And Nyambe, I think, dropped back into a back three in the end, which I'd say overall probably suited our play, especially towards the end. I mean, I've said that now. I reckon Paul Vaughan's going to go back to a back three now. We're going to start seeing three, aren't we? But by Nyambe's excellent standards, he had a poor game today. But I guess he's allowed one. Bearing in mind he hasn't played a lot of football prior to coming to us. And it was always going to be a struggle against this side that in Crewe where, they're going to have a game plan against a big team in Derby and they're going to execute that well. And I think they just sort of nullified his pace and maybe we didn't use it as good as we could have. But it wasn't just him that had an off day. I think a lot of them did today. So, it's just I think we noticed Nyambe a bit more because he's been so good since he signed.
Yeah, I agree. And just having a look at some of the comments, talking about players switching off at the back, which makes sense. We could do with two more strikers and a midfielder with bite. I think we've got one of those. I think it's Tyrese Warne on the bench, but he doesn't seem to be getting a run at the minute. One saying Washington isn't built like Shaquille O'Neal. He was never going to win a header against that number 15. Yeah, you're right. We don't really seem to attack the ball from crosses as well. And I think that's a really good point. I mean, you talked about players getting into the box. The players that were bursting the box, the likes of Max Bird, who, I don't think he's awful in the air, but I don't think he's good in the air either. He's not going to bullet a header into the top corner. And the other player was Corey Smith, who's about 3 feet tall. So I kind of get where they're coming from. We've got, one striker who's 5'10" in the box. We've got two midfielders that aren't necessarily big or good in the air running in as well. And when we're putting balls in at head height, we're expecting them to win headers against giant centre halves that have spent, all their careers winning headers like that. It does make you wonder if Warne's going to be looking for a big, strong centre forward in January. Do you think he will?
I think he needs to. I just think with the strikers we've got at the minute, it doesn't sort of suit the style that he wants to play. If you look at the successes he's had at Rotherham, it was always a big lump striker. I think it's probably Matt Smith at Rotherham. I think it was. I might have got all the goals for him. But yeah, I mean, if you want to play the balls into the box and you want to get the crosses, you need a target man. Unfortunately, we don't have a specific target man at the club. I mean, Collins tries, but he's not the target man. Washington isn't physical or strong or tall enough to do that. Waghorn, I wouldn't even argue he's a striker, to be honest. So if you look at the three we've already got, we definitely probably need to recruit there. But I think we need to recruit a midfielder as well who can really take the game by the scruff of the neck. I think we've got football playing midfielders, but we need somebody that will just do the dirty work in the middle. Similar to what maybe someone like Bradley would do at the back. We probably need that in the middle. I think if we can find that grit in the middle, I think our fortunes will change. It just depends on, one, where we are in the table come January, and two, what's available. Because we all know January is quite a hard market to sort of recruit players. So those would be the two key areas that I think he needs to strengthen. And I wouldn't be surprised to see any of our strikers leave, to be honest. So I think there's a couple there that might be surplus to requirements.
Let's be real, he's never letting Connor Washington go. He's going to tie him down in the training ground and not let him leave for the entirety of January. So I don't think we need to worry about that one.
He's getting a lifetime deal, he
is. He is. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's what's probably quite likely to happen. And yeah, I guess when it comes to midfield, I mean, like I said, I think Forner's that guy. But the problem is, if we played Forner today, we'd probably lost that game because, Horahan pops up last minute, top corner. And that's the sort of magic he gives you. I don't think he's playing necessarily that well at the minute, but he's got that magic. Set up the goal on Tuesday. Again, I didn't think he was great on Tuesday, but he played a really good ball to Bird, sets a goal up, scores a goal today, and that's why he's not droppable. So I agree. I think we need a harder midfielder, but who do you drop? You can't drop Bird because he's too good. You can't drop Hurahan really because I don't know if this should be the case, but A, he's the captain, and B, he's always got that moment of magic. His set pieces are good and things like that. Maybe he won't have the best 90 minutes, but he'll always come up with something. He'll always create something every game. And Corey Smith's been in great form at the minute. So, even if we're going to drop one of them, it'd probably be him. But he's playing that well at the minute. It's quite hard to drop him. So I think it's quite a difficult situation. I think it's going to be one for Warne to navigate. And I just hope he gets it right because, as we've seen on social media when we were 2-0 down, I think the pressure's on him. I mean, Vic, we had that episode 2 weeks ago. Should Derby sack Paul Warne? Loads of debate on that. It was great. Really good to see. Has your stance changed in the last few weeks?
I'll be honest, I'm on the fence. I think I'm neither for or against. I think I can see why the people want him gone, because obviously results aren't going our way. The performances haven't been there all season, barring maybe a couple, and it just seems like we don't have a plan B. And it seems like he really wants to persist with this, get the balls into the box and try and score goals. But we can clearly see that with the personnel we've got at the club, it's not the style that suits us at this moment in time. We've seen it in flashes and we've seen little bits of brilliance here and there, like Peterborough away, Blackpool away, where it was effective. The problem is teams are going to work out that this is how we play football, and then we're going to get hit on the counter. We're going to have to play against teams that are going to have 10 players behind the ball, and we're going to really struggle to break them down, especially if we're just trying to pump balls into the box when we maybe don't seem to be attacking the ball when they come into the box. So for me, I'm sitting on the fence at the minute. I'm not in the Paul Warne out brigade, but I'd probably say I'm questioning my Paul Warne instance as well, just because I think we need to drastically improve. We've got a really good opportunity to get out of this league this season, and by all means, I'm not underestimating the league. It's been very competitive this year. However, I think that we've got to be realistic, and we've really got to try and push for that top six. Because if we don't, we could end up being in this league for a few years to come. So whether a change is likely at the moment, I don't know. Whether it's viable for us, I don't know. I'm hoping that fortunes change, because I really did want Warne to succeed at the club. At the time we appointed him, I thought it made sense. Everything, the stars were sort of aligned. We were getting a manager that's got out of this league 3 times. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't say if I'm for or against at the moment. Let me ask you that question. What's your opinion on this, Jake?
It doesn't usually get turned round on me, and I like it that way normally. But no, I agree with you, mate. I think a couple of weeks ago I'd lost my head. Basically, I think I'd had enough, and I think a lot of people had as well. And I remember at the end of the episode, we were all saying, maybe it is better for us if he goes. Maybe it gives us a fresh start. And part of me still thinks that, but I do want him to succeed. Like you said, he's on a long contract. He's a still relatively young manager. He's had success before. You can't obviously lean on that because that's ridiculous. You can't look at past successes and base it on that. But at the same time, he's got a good record, and his teams do tend to pick up in this middle part of the season, which we're entering now. I know, obviously, we weren't amazing today, but we were okay. We look good against Northampton. If we go out against Barnsley next week and play them off the park at Pride Park and get a really good result, I think things will start to turn the other way. So yeah, I know I said worn out a couple of weeks ago. Maybe that was an emotional reaction. I wouldn't be too devastated if he did go, but I would be disappointed, I think, because I really want him to succeed. So yeah, let's put it like that. It's a good way of dodging the question. But yeah, Vic, we've just got a couple of comments. We've had a comment from Jim Johnston, which I think is really funny. Put Bradley Johnson back in. I completely forgot he was still with us, to be honest. Great shout, Jim. And he's also said, Vic, great analysis. So yeah, you can take that, Vic. There you go.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. After to be fair. That Bradley Johnson is not a bad chat. If we could find a mould of that sort of player, slightly younger, if we maybe the 26, 27 age, and we've got that Bradley Johnson mould who's like a bulldog in the midfield, that could be the solution to a lot of the problems we've got at the minute. But again, for me, it's essential that we just get that striker, because the goal, we're not scoring enough for a team that plays the way we do.
I agree. I think, need to send scouts to all the parks around Leeds and around Yorkshire to find the angry, well-built Yorkshireman to go in the midfield. Because I think that's the sort of player that would be nice to have at the minute. So I think we should probably end this by talking about the two games we've got coming up. One we don't really care about, Papa John's Trophy, Wolves under 21s. Their results are, 1 win, 1 loss, lost to Lincoln. Beat Notts County 2-1. We beat Notts County. We beat Lincoln. Point, we're through. Lose, we're probably still through. Wolves need to win to go through. I watched the highlights of their game against Lincoln. They look awful. They look really dire. At Pride Park, there's going to be plenty of changes. What's your score prediction, mate?
Well, I'm just, what I've got in the back of my mind is that Man City under 21s. I don't want to underestimate any under 21s.
Very different game. Very different game.
I don't want to ever underestimate under 21 side ever again. But I think Warne will make a few changes. We'll probably see Ward come in. We'll probably see Wilson come in. I'll go for a 3-1 Derby win. I think we'll secure it there and then, and I think we'll want to progress in this cup. I mean, I won't be surprised. I won't be offended or anything like that if we went on to sort of progress in this cup and go on to win it. It'd be nice to have a little bit of a distraction from all the league problems that we've got at the minute. So let's hopefully get a 3-1 win, secure it all, and then get someone in the next round and keep progressing from there.
Good stuff. Yeah, I think to be honest, without sounding overconfident, I think we should win comfortably, really. Man City were different because Carlos Borges cost them about £15 million, and he was playing for their under 21s. I don't think Wolves. I know you said Warne. I don't think Wolves have anywhere near that sort of firepower. So I think we should be okay, even with a rotated side. And before we go on to Barnsley, Jim Johnson's put, hopefully we win 2-1 against Barnsley. Well hosted today, Jake. Thanks, Jim. You see, he knew I'd feel left out, and I appreciate that. And Barnsley, Barnsley were one of the shocks of the weekend, weren't they? They drew 3-3 with Horsham. Brilliant comeback from Horsham. They were 3-2 down, and scored right in the last minute. I think Adam was there to get a replay against Barnsley at home, which will be a really, really good draw for them. Barnsley are just above us in the league. They seem to do this every year. They're in and around the playoffs, and then all of a sudden they'll go on a crazy run just after Christmas. So hopefully we've got them at a good time. How do you see it going?
It's going to be a tight, cagey game, I think. Maybe it could be a game where we can set down the marker, prove a few doubters wrong, and hopefully embark on a unbeaten league run. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. I'm going to be a little bit optimistic here. I think we'll beat them, and I think this could be the start of our fortunes changing. So if I'm going to go for goal scorers, I'd say let's go Mendez-Laing to keep up his good form, and we'll go for another wash goal. I think he'll get another one to build on his one from at Pride Park already. So hopefully we get a 2-1 win against Barnsley, and we just kick on from there.
I hope you're right. I'm going to say the same, 2-1. I think Barnsley will come. I think they'll score early, but I think we'll turn it around just like we did today. I think at home we're starting to turn it on a little bit, which I think we really, really needed. We've got players coming back. I think the likes of Ward will be crucial. I think Kane Wilson will get his first goal for Derby, probably off the bench. And I think Mendez-Laing will score again. He's in that sort of form at the minute where he's quite hard to stop. When things go your way and keep going your way, you're doing something right, as we saw with his goal today, which was not good, but it went in, and that's the most important thing. So I think he'll score again, and hopefully we'll get another win. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. It's been a different episode today, battling Vic's technical problems, probably mine as well, so I won't let you take all the blame. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good. Hopefully there'll be more of us next week. In fact, there will be more of us next week. Everyone will be back round. It'll be a nice normal episode again. If you did enjoy, please leave us a rating. Don't base it just on this episode. I think you should listen to a few. And yeah, give us a good rating if you do enjoy it. It does genuinely mean a lot. We put a lot of time and effort in, so that's always great. If you did listen, you can catch it on YouTube and see our lovely faces. If you did watch, you can catch it back on Spotify, Apple Pods, all of that sort of stuff. Vic, any closing comments before we finish?
No, not really. I think we just gotta, I just say, keep the faith of the team. Even if you do have conflicting opinions about Paul Warne, just make sure you keep backing the lads. I think it's going to be really important, especially with the Christmas run in now, where games are coming thick and fast. It's nice to see that we're still selling out away grounds. We're getting 25,000 plus in at Pride Park. So let's keep up the support for the boys, irrespective of how you feel of the managerial situation, because they're going to need it. And hopefully we can shoot up the table, and we'll hopefully be talking about top 6 come December.
Wise words, Vic. Wise words. You see, this is why you have the long beard. Only wise people can have the long beard. That's how it works. So perfect. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thank you very much, everyone.